It took me way too long to understand this way of lighting, and it's completely changed how I film today. When I started out in filmmaking, I focused a lot more on settings rather than composition and lighting, and I think that's a common challenge for new filmmakers, as that's kind of the easy thing to focus on, and often we only have natural lighting to work with anyway, which comes with its own set of challenges as well. But there is one way to make your footage look so much better no matter what lighting you had, and it's so simple that I wish I had known it when I started out. So that's what we're going to talk about today. If you don't know who I am, hello, my name is Alex. 3 years ago, I left my corporate job in IT in Denmark and decided I wanted to do something different. I wanted to start a creative career where I'm my own boss and I do what I want, which is being creative, tell stories, and teach others. It's been a long journey with a lot of ups and downs, and currently I'm still in the middle of it, trying to figure everything out. But I want to teach what I know as well. So that's what this channel is. This is my YouTube channel where I used to teach color grading and now I teach filmmaking. So every week I'll be uploading a new video in this kind of style and at least trying to stay consistent with that moving forward. Now let's get to that one trick that'll help you out a lot with your lighting and composition. One of the first things I remember learning about lighting was that I needed a 45-degree angle. So in a talking head situation like this, that works perfectly, getting the light in, the soft sunlight in this case, in from the left, and it kind of brings a soft shadow around me because we're shooting close to sunset. So that was the first step, but sometimes my footage tends to look amazing and other times it look kind of shit. And I always try to, or most of the time, try to follow this rule. So what's gonna make the big difference is front lighting versus back lighting. Right now I'm fronted. I'm not even following the technique that I just told you about 45-degree angle. Right now the sun is just hitting me straight in the face and lighting up the background behind me as well. And when I started out, I thought, hey, this is great. I need the sun to hit me as much light as possible. That's great, right? But that's not what looks cinematic or great in that instance. And right now I can barely see anything. When we are front lighting things as I am right now, everything will be lit, which means that everything will not have that much shadow and just kind of look flat because everything has the same lighting. So even though there's a lot of depth here and there's far to the background, everything just kind of looks flat and boring. So we turn the camera around. Now we are backlit instead. And this was very counterintuitive to me because I thought we needed as much light on me as possible. Right now the light is kind of coming a little bit more from the side. But the point is that when you turn the camera facing more towards the sun, you don't want to point it straight at the sun, but more towards the sun, you get a lot more contrast and thereby three-dimensionality. Why is that? Because now you see shadows in the background and you kind of get these pockets of light where you have light, shadow, light, shadow, light, shadow throughout the background. And that helps break up the image a little bit more and create some more contrast. And the good thing about me not looking straight into the sun is now I can actually look normal and kind of see as well. This technique is also called shooting the shadow, and it's very, very simple. Say that I'm sitting here and we are not talking directly to each other in the camera. Say that I have a line straight from me here. Now the light right now, the sun is up here and the camera is right here. So with this line, we want the light to be placed on one side, the key light, the main light source, whether that's natural or external, and we want the camera placed on the other side. Now, when I'm talking to the camera, it kind of makes sense that I'm more looking directly to the camera, but you still want to have the camera placed on the shadow side. So straight line, sun side, light side, shadow side. Now, one thing you don't want to do, you don't want to have the sun in the frame. If you can avoid it, maybe at low sunset or low sunrise, maybe that makes sense. But for the most part, you don't want the sun in the frame because that's going to be very, very bright and it's going to create too much of a mushy contrast from you or whatever subject you have and the sun. So you want the sun just out of the frame, but you want it to light your face and light your subject and then shoot from the shadow. As you can see behind me as well, I still have a lot of contrast with the trees and with everything that's going on in the background. So that helps with creating this three-dimensionality of the 2D. Okay, so let's quickly talk about how you shoot this in a practical scenario. I like to do it in two ways. First of all, I always shoot in log. My case is log 3 because I want as much flexibility in post as possible. If you're not shooting in log, these techniques of exposure probably doesn't apply to you. You're just exposed to what looks good. But if you are shooting in log, I like to use ZBrush to do this. And when I'm filming myself as I am right now, I like to just use ZBrush 2 at 90, so just below the clipping point of this log3, and just make sure that no whites or anything are clipping in the background. And that way I'll know that I have as much brightness in my scene as I can get, and that's just how I'm gonna go about it. This is when I'm shooting in natural lighting, by the way. The second technique is using ZBrush 1 and setting it to 52, and then exposing for the brightest part of my skin. Now, this is only something I do if I can see that the scene in general is very light and I want to preserve the skin tones as much as possible, and I'm not in front of the camera, but I'm behind it. So if I'm in front of the camera, I'm exposing just to the clipping point of the brightest part of the frame, and if I'm behind the camera, it varies. Sometimes it's to the brightest part just before the clipping point, and sometimes it's to the brightest part of the skin tone. So that's how you can go about it. That's how you know that the exposure is still good. Sometimes it's blinking at 2.0, even though nothing is clipping, and you can bring it down in post afterwards if you're shooting in log. So I highly recommend trying that out. I also made a video last week talking about exposure and testing out what happens if you overexpose without clipping. You can watch that if you're interested in that as well. I did both in 10-bit and in 8-bit. And then lastly, I just want to say I have a filmmaking foundations ebook out, which teaches you all that I know about filmmaking and everything that I've learned in the past 3 years. I'm updating it monthly, so there's new content coming all the time. I'm trying to improve it as much as possible. But if you're new to filmmaking and you like this video, maybe you'll like this product as well. It's linked in the description below, so if you're interested, you can always take a look there. And yeah, this series I'm planning to do a weekly release of, so kind of filmmaking tips every Thursday. That's my aim at least. But weekly videos on this kind of topic. So if there's anything else you would like me to cover, or you're curious about, or you want to learn, just leave a comment down below. I'm always happy to help. And yeah, until the next time, take care, and I'll see you there.